Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new documentary Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story, which is finally out in the UK this Friday the 1st of November. I believe it's already been released in America and people may have seen it premiere at London Film Festival a few weeks ago. And I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the film, having seen the Cineworld screening tonight, a film that I've been looking forward to, a film I've heard a lot of things about, and something I'm not too enlightened with the subject. I am not completely familiar with Christopher Reeve's work. I have a very embarrassing admission that I'll admit shortly, but it's something I'm going to be talking about, and it's obviously one of the most recognised faces in the entire history of cinema, which is quite remarkable that maybe it's took this long to get a documentary. So before I start talking about those kinds of things, I do want to hear from you at home, so please do comment your thoughts. If you've seen the documentary, if you plan on watching it, what you thought of it, did you enjoy it, did you not, is there anything you think it missed or it didn't focus on? I'm really curious to know how people responded and reacted to this. I think it's a very different documentary to what some people might think it's going to be about, especially when you're seeing the poster. It's got the Superman, everything such as that. Obviously the DC Studios logo being introduced for the first time, I believe, too, or at least the new DC Studios logo. So I'm curious to know what people think. And it's this back-to-back documentary reviews, which is very rare. The John Williams documentary is out this Friday. There's a review on the channel for that. And obviously when we announce videos, we put them on our social media. So linktree.com/cinemasavvy. That'll pop through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd. But going back to the documentary, I'll be really blunt. I'm pretty fresh with this. I think I got the cinema maybe an hour ago. This feels like more of a reaction because I really struggle doing reviews on documentaries. But I can just tell you off the bat that this is probably one of the most difficult documentaries I think I've seen, whilst being equally as uplifting. It's a very strange response I've had coming out of this. I thought it was great just to get that out of the way. It's not a weird response. But I'd heard from so many people I know, people I trust with their film opinions, that it is really upsetting, that it's going to make everybody cry and that sort of thing. And I was really looking forward to seeing this. And the big admission I mentioned, I've still never seen any of the original Superman films. Don't hate that. I'll see them next year before the new one comes out. I know I will, but they're just films I wasn't shown as a kid. I didn't particularly care for them too much as an adult, and when I was really into my comics, I never really went into the Superman side of things. I read a couple of comics and it didn't appeal to me like other characters, so I've got limited Superman knowledge, limited film knowledge. But with Christopher Reeve, there was something where I was sort of familiar somewhat with his career, the accident and the foundation charity that's come since, but I'm still very much an outsider to it. So I was really curious to find out what I would find out about him through his documentary, and to my actual relief, it's family orientated. That I know that the children helped produce the documentary, they didn't direct it, they've been doing the PR for it and work in the UK, and whilst it has got the DC logo on it, it is not a Warner Brothers DC, hey, we made this documentary about Christopher Reeve. It feels, and I haven't done the research yet, it very much feels like they've probably shown it to Warner Brothers or DC and said, you know what, we're going to help you do this, we really like this, here's the licensing to use this footage, that footage, etc, etc. So I'm going to read into that, but immediately off the bat, it's a very personal, intricate documentary to the children. And I think that's a really interesting way to approach this. And when you talk documentaries, I spoke on the John Williams review yesterday, and you guys will get to see it on Friday when it's out. It's a great documentary, but with John Williams having the career he has had and continues to have, with him in his 90s and still working, it can go through those motions. Yet with Christopher Reeve, you couldn't really do that. And they took a really interesting narrative approach, just that it begins with the accident, some of the outcome of that, what was going on, and then it uses that to interweave to him coming through in the 70s as an actor, his theatre days, jumping back to the mid-90s with the accident, the recovery, then going back to the 80s. So it was structured in a really unique way that I think lent itself to this documentary a lot better than other documentaries would choose to do so, because like so many people, they will go into this knowing he was Superman. They will know about the accident, and rather than take the simplistic narrative structure of this is where he was born, this is his family, this is his filming, this is the 80s, this is the 90s, oh, this happened, now let's talk about this. It makes this as much his identity as the Superman figure is. and I really didn't expect it. And actually, something that I really liked with this documentary too, not only the structure, but the majority of this is family footage of them growing up as children, him on his recovery in the hospital, work from his films after, all the political, all the charity work he's done. There's more found footage than there is interviews, and I really like that with the documentaries. Don't get me wrong, I love an interview. I don't like the ones where they bring in actors to reenact scenes. I know that's a weird thing some documentaries do, and some people like those reenactments, but for this, I was more surprised it had as much footage as they did, and I thought it was really interesting, especially when we do get to the interview side of things, making it very personal with his family, and then bringing on board his closer friends, people he's worked with in the industry, people he's done charity work with, some really interesting names that I didn't know he had relations to, like Jeff Daniels pops up a fair few times. They'd known each other for decades, they were friends, they'd done theatre before Superman, they'd done it afterwards as well, so it was really interesting learning more about him through peers within the industry. And as someone as myself that's into my film, I do enjoy seeing the industry side of things, and I didn't realise when the accident happened, the response to the scene at the Oscars. There are so many things I've learned through this documentary today that I thought was fascinating, things I just didn't have an inkling of knowledge about, which is kind of where I'm going with this review, is that I'm immediately recommending this. I'm not recommending it in the sense of, oh, it's a good documentary, oh, it's about film, it's this, it's that. This could be about anybody. This same structure, the accident, what they've propelled them on to do in life, I think it's really enlightening. It's devastating at the same time, and it's I don't know, I feel a bit inspired by it. Not that I can go and do any inspirational things like what's done within this documentary, but to see someone who's gone through an accident such as that to come out the way he did, and for his life to go in a completely different direction, to dedicate almost his entire life towards trying to make improvements, working, as I mentioned earlier, with politics, trying to get bills put in place. It was very powerful. And actually on top of that, there's the family side of things too, that we see the impact it had on his family, his relationships, the people around him, the children growing up with him. It's really eye-opening to the family side of things, and it's quite remarkable. And as many documentaries do, you look into the childhood, his relationship with his own family, as to how he became Christopher Reeve that the focus of this documentary is on. And I do believe this tells the full story in the most devastating circumstance, and I kind of feel that it's a must-watch documentary. And if I'm really honest, I don't sort of jump on a documentary high horn and go Oscar this, Oscar that. I'd be devastated if this isn't nominated for the Oscars next year, just for the recognition, for the peers, for what he's done within the film industry, for what he's done for paralysis, for the disabled community, his legacy, the not necessarily origins of stem cell research, but things that I've grown up with, I'm familiar with, in the sense of we studied this at science at school, and we've seen this developments in real life. And so much of it came in that mid-90s of him bringing that public interest and funding towards it. It was quite remarkable, quite incredible, and I think if you come out of this, it might change you as a person. Genuinely, it's one of the best films I've seen this year, without a shadow of a doubt. I absolutely loved it, and I'm going to recommend it. And it's really hard to talk about that. Try not to well up, if I'm being too honest, because it is going to get you on that too. So it's a shorter review today, but it's a glowing recommendation from me. I really do want to hear from people that have seen it, those that haven't seen it. UK, it's out in the cinemas this Friday. I don't know how long it will play here for. I don't know if it's going to go on to streaming in a few weeks. I know it's already been out in America. It might already be on HBO Max over there, or if it hasn't, maybe in the coming weeks and months, who knows. But definitely go out your way to watch it. It's pretty special, if I'm being really honest. So that's a nice way for me to end this somewhat shorter review. There's a lot more film stuff coming. I'm not going to plug it all now. I'm not really in the right mindset, am I? So that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.